If you've been sitting there thinking, I don't know if I'm ready for the meds journey yet, or your kiddo just can't tolerate them, listen up. NeuroNeeds was created by a medical geneticist, board-certified pediatrician, and ADHD dad who hit the same wall when his own kiddo couldn't handle stimulants. He built a science-backed line of nutritional support to help fill the gaps where meds just can't. So if treatment feels scary or you're not sure where to start, NeuroNeeds might just be the middle ground your family's been looking for. Learn more at neuroneeds.com. All right, Chaos fam, today on the podcast, we've got Dayna Abraham. Yes, the Dayna Abraham. If you've ever felt like you are parenting a child who arrived with zero instructions and maximum intensity, this woman is about to feel like oxygen. Dayna is the ADHD mom, educator, and founder behind Lemon Lime Adventures and the wildly effective Calm the Chaos framework. She's raised 3 neurojazzy kiddos, lived with the struggle herself, taught for over a decade, and then built a global movement around helping families like ours stop drowning in meltdowns and start actually connecting. Her work has reached tens of millions of parents, not because it's cute or Pinterest perfect, but because it's real, science-backed, and actually works when your kid's emotional volcano decides to erupt in the produce aisle. So buckle up, this one hits home in the best possible way. Let's welcome Dayna to the mic. Dayna, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So first, I need to know, for those who have been living under a rock, I would love for you to tell us what brought you from inner city Chicago teacher to Calm to Chaos.
Oh my goodness. So I always say I believe I was born into chaos and raised for chaos. I was a sibling of a bipolar brother. So I was on the receiving end of a lot of his aggressive meltdowns growing up. When I was a teacher in Chicago, my favorite kiddos were the ones that came with a paper trail behind them. So when I became a parent, I was like, I got this down. I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to be world's best parent. Universe decided to test that theory and give me my lovely oldest son. And he was then kicked out of preschool. He was in trouble and suspended in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. By second grade, he was kicked out more days than he was actually in school. So it became really clear that he was not meant for a traditional school setting. So I quit teaching and decided to start figuring out like how to help him, how to support him, what was going on that I didn't understand with all my teacher training. And everything out there was so perfect, so picture perfect. And I felt so alone. And so I started a blog called Lemon Lime Adventures and just started sharing the ups and downs of what was going on. And through that, built a really large community and started kind of through sharing what was going on with my son, working, closely with other parents, I figured out a framework that worked, and it started making big results or giving parents and kids big results where both the parents and the kids felt seen and heard. And that was kind of the growth and, creation of Calm the Chaos. And that was 2018 when Calm the Chaos was created. So
wow,
going on almost 8 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So being a national board certified educator, ADHD adult, I believe, and a parent to one of our kiddos, from your personal experience, what helped you shame your framework, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So the framework, you had all this information, all the great books, all the stuff, but then in application, it was really hard to apply. And it felt like it didn't really apply to my specific kid and the knowledge I had about my kid. And so what I came to realize is that it's not one piece of information. It's not one hack, one tool, one thing that we all need. But the framework that I came up with is nothing new. There's no new information really. But you wouldn't want that. You don't want new information. You want what works and what is based in science and what's based in what we know about how kids grow and develop, and especially neurodivergent brains. And so what I realized is it's a lot like baking a cake. You don't have one ingredient. You have basically like four basic ingredients. No matter like the style of cake you're making, you still have a flour, whether that's gluten free or not, you still have a flour. You have something that's holding it all together, which is usually an egg, but you could have an egg substitute. You have some sort of liquid, which is usually milk. Sometimes it's water. And you usually have some sort of sweetener, something that makes it sweet. So you've got these four basic core ingredients, but then it mixes and changes and you adjust it based on what you want the cake to come out like. And also like what knowledge and experience you have. And it's the same thing. What I found with parenting is you need those core ingredients. And what I found those to be, if you think of a Venn diagram with three concentric circles, and then they all converge in the center, is you have connection, which you hear a lot about, but it's more about acceptance, less about just connection, but more about acceptance of who your kid is, not who you wanted your kid to be. Then there's understanding. There is that science piece. And I think it's really, really important for us as parents to understand why humans do what they do. And then the last piece is empowerment. And it's not you do this and follow along. It's not just the rules. It's not just the boundaries. It really is making sure that everyone has their autonomy and everyone feels seen and heard. And you're making plans that work with the brain instead of against it. And then in the middle, where it all kind of comes together, is the most important piece, which gets left out all the time. And that's the you piece, which is your own stories, belief, mindset, experiences, your own neurodivergence that you're bringing to the table, and your ability to regulate and take care of yourself amidst all the other things going on. So those are the four basics, and that shifts and changes depending on where you are, what challenge you're dealing with. But if you can approach every situation with those four thoughts in mind, what do I need to do to get myself to a safe place? How can I make sure my kid feels seen and heard? What do I need to understand about this situation? And then how can we both feel empowered in this situation? Game changer.
Yeah. So probably not where I was trying to go, but I can't skip over. You said that we often misinterpret connection. Do you mind diving into that for a second?
Yeah. Yeah. So I see parents all the time come to me and say, I connect all day long. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I am with my kids nonstop from, sun up to sundown, and then they sleep on top of me. Like, how much more could I possibly connect with my kid? But at the same time, or in the same breath, sometimes I'll hear them say, I just don't understand why they can't, why they won't, what's wrong with them. Why are they doing this? What don't they know better? That's not how we act in this house. And a lot of times that's coming from your own belief of how a kid should be or who they should be. Instead of saying, you know what, I've got this unique kid. Who are they? What do they need? And that connection really is about building what I call moments of safety. So where your kid feels truly seen, heard, safe, you are their safe place. And those can happen in very small moments. That can be with a look, that can be with a phrase, that can be with something completely unsaid, completely nonverbal. But it's the relationship you're building with that kid, not just I played with my kid, I did a game with my kid, I sat with my kid, I made this really awesome, sticker chart for my kid. Like, that's not really connecting and going and doing. And it's not the more, it's actually a lot less. And it's really, really like the small, simple things that we don't always think about.
I love that. And I am probably very guilty of that.
Look, everything I say is no judgment. Like, honestly, I hope anyone else listening, no judgment. We're all guilty of it. We all do it. And so it's just, if we can be made aware of it,
yeah,
then it makes a big difference.
So my next question would be, and small caveat, the universe decided that I needed a lot of help in this area. So in 2021, I was gifted a spiritual awakening that changed who I am, because she was like, girl, we can't go through all that process. You need to go ahead and get on the boat. So for the parents that you speak to or that come to me often and they're like, I am calm. Mm-hmm. How can they start regulating more so when they don't even realize they are dysregulated?
So it's twofold. They might be very calm. I've seen some of the most like Zen mamas come to me. Even like mindfulness teachers have come to me with Calm the Chaos and they're like, I'm calm. Like, I don't understand. And that's why it's not one piece of the puzzle. It's not just the you piece. It is the connection, the understanding, and the empowerment all
Yeah.
together. And so if you're missing why your kid is doing what they're doing and then you're not meeting that need, you can be as calm as a cucumber, but your kid is not interpreting your calmness as support. They're still not getting what they need. So that's one side of the puzzle. The other side is what you talked about is what if on the outside you're calm, but on the inside you are reeling, like your thoughts are spiraling. You're like, oh my God, they're going to be, your kid is 8 and they just hit their brother. And you're like, oh my God, they're going to end up in jail. You know, on the outside, you're like, we don't hit. And then on the inside, you're like, they are going to be like mass murderers. They have no empathy. They are the worst kid in the world. Your kid can feel that. They can
Yeah.
sense that. There is an energy there that you're holding on to. They can feel your resentment. They can feel your anger, your frustration. And it's not to say don't be resentful and frustrated. It's to say work through that outside of the moment so that you're not carrying that with you into every interaction you have.
And how would you suggest that parents start?
Mm,
Because to me, it seems like the parents who come to me and like one of the first things I recommend is self care, and they're like, I don't have time for self care.
yeah.
Yeah, but you need it.
Yeah.
you know.
So there we go. We're gonna redefine self-care. Self-care is not just bubble baths. It's not taking 30 minutes to yourself. It really is, how can I take care of myself and it take no extra time? And so, for example, I carry a water bottle. I'm actually like, did not bring my water bottle to this interview, and I'm like dying of thirst right now. My mouth is like drying out. And anyway, self-care, that is something that I put front and center as I carry my water bottle with me and I drink water all day long. I take my multivitamins in the morning. That is a self-care act that I give myself. I put myself to bed at a pretty reasonable hour. That's self-care for me. And so, and I'll go run tonight with a running group, and that's self-care for me. But when I was in the thick of it, I wasn't going running. I wasn't, I couldn't leave the house for 30 minutes when my son was destroying the house if I wasn't around. And so I do get it. So what can you do while your kids are around? What can you do while you're in the bathroom? What can you do when you first wake up in the morning? What are small, tiny, sustainable ways to fill your cup, to give yourself that boost of energy? So one of our students, I call it boost and drains inside of our Calm the Chaos book and program, but one of my clients calls it a boost sandwich. So before you have something, because I coached her into doing, before you have something really hard, let's say you got to get kids to school, and that is like a fight every single morning. Well, let's do a boost sandwich. Let's do a boost before and after you do that really painful activity. So right before, maybe go to the bathroom while you're brushing your teeth or whatever, and maybe like take your deep breaths. Maybe remind yourself you've got this. Maybe like whatever you need to get through that moment. Maybe drink your water, maybe take your vitamins, whatever it is, have your coffee.
Yeah.
Then after you get those kids out the door and they are on the bus or they are at school, you sit in that car for like 5 minutes and you turn off your phone. You don't scroll and numb out. And instead you just pause and you recharge. Do something that lights you up, something that gives you energy back before rushing into the next step of your day. So that's what we call like a boost sandwich. And that's where I would start. I would start with, what are ways that you can give yourself that peace, that, the energy that you need to do the hard things throughout your day. And it takes practice. I always tell people, practice while you pee. Sorry if that's like TMI, but like, that's what I say. It's like,
Yeah.
we all have to go to the bathroom. And if you don't have to go to the bathroom, you have a different problem and need to be listening to a different podcast. But if you struggle with where to fit things in, bathroom's it. Like, habit stacking is my saving grace as an ADHDer. And so what is something you do every single day without fail, without thinking? Well, I always put my pants on. Like, I don't leave the house without pants on. So how can I tie my medicine to putting on my pants? Oh, when I put on my pants, I'm going to take my medicine. I will never forget my medicine again because I'm not going out of the house without
Yeah.
pants. Right. And so when I go to the bathroom, I'm going to practice my breath. When I go to the bathroom, I'm going to visualize the way I'm going to respond when my kid does this thing that they do every single time we go to school. Right. So that's how you build the muscle so that you're not having to try to remember all the scripts and all of the advice and all of the things you hear on these podcasts. It becomes second nature.
Okay, parents, if your Christmas shopping list looks like toys that don't end in tears, meltdowns, or glitter explosions, listen up. Play Therapy Supply is basically Santa's workshop for neurodivergent kids, but with actual purpose behind the play. We're talking fidgets that calm instead of overstimulate, social skills games that don't feel like homework, and sensory tools that help your kid's nervous system chill the heck out. If you've got an ADHD kiddo who's curious, creative, and occasionally climbing your curtains, this is where you'll find gifts that meet them where they are and build the skills they need. So skip the cheap plastic chaos this year. Hit playtherapysupply.com and fill that cart with gifts that actually make sense for your beautiful, busy-brained kiddo. Because a regulated kid is the best gift you can get this season. Funny short story. When I was learning to work on me as a parent, for one, I thought that I was going to go and they were going to fix my kid, and it was really all work on myself. And the very first session, they said to pretend like I was on a reality show. And so now when we're out in public, people are like, "You're so calm." But I'm like, 7 years later, I'm pretending I'm on a reality show and that everyone's judging me. So I'm like, okay, baby, let's put on our shoes. Let's get in the car. It sticks with me.
I could see that as a double edge. I see how that could be really helpful. I also see it as like a double-edged sword because I feel like as parents, we already feel like there's so much judgment. And so I feel like sometimes we do act differently because we think all the eyes are on us. And so I could see that being like work for some, right?
Yeah.
For you, you're like, okay, I'm in line, but you may have been a people pleaser when you were growing up. For the rest of us, like that, we're not people pleasers growing up. That might just put so much pressure on us that like we buck the system and then we end up yelling or we end up like, just get in line, just do the thing you're supposed to do, right? Like, come on, why can't you do this? We're in public. People are watching. So for someone listening, if you hear that and you're like, that would never work, it's because our brains are different, right?
Yeah.
Like you're totally different than I am. I'm different than you are. And, you know, Sally Joe, who's listening, is also different.
Yeah. I will say, honestly, I think we respond in public calmer than we would anyway. And where it really helped me was when I was losing my shit at home. Because I'm like, okay, there's 100 cameras everywhere and people are watching you. So maybe don't lose your shit right now. Just reel it back in. So
Yeah.
maybe a tip for at home and not out in public.
There you go. And maybe like, and maybe say, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
And you get away from the cameras
Yeah.
and you go lose your shit. Because I think it's important to not shove it down. I think there's a misconception, right? And you're not saying this. I think out there in the world of like, we must be calm, happy parents. And that's not what we're saying here. You are allowed your feelings. You should feel your feelings. You should have your emotions. You should get frustrated. And by golly, you should get frustrated at your kids sometimes. They need to see those emotions and see how you deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm too frustrated to talk right now. I'm going to step away. I'm not going to say anything I like right now. So I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah.
Practicing those things is what's going to be really helpful because our kids need to know what to do when they're really pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% wholeheartedly believe in that. And yesterday I was having a day and I told my kid, like, Mom's about to lose her crap. And I really, 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 really just need you to read right now because reading is our kryptonite. Yes, girl. It's like, every day. And every day we read for 30 minutes. So every day we fight for 5 minutes before the reading. And so I just told him. And then later that evening, he was like, Mom, I'm about to lose my poop. I need to take a second. And I was like, Impressive. I'm proud of you and
Yeah.
I'm proud of
Yeah.
me. We're working it out.
Yeah, when my daughter was 2, because she like grew up around all this, and seeing me work through with my son and all of his aggression and all the things we were dealing with. 2 years old, she goes in the bathroom, she opens the door, she goes, angry, need a minute. And she closed the door and she opened back up, still angry, breathing. And she closed the door again. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh girl, you're
Yeah.
going to be fine.
Yeah, we're all figuring it out. I think that modeling is honestly the best because that's how they're learning, you know?
Best teacher.
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah, Dan Siegel calls it mind sight. And it's so important because our kids don't have that skill to think about their thinking, right? Metacognition. And so it's really important for us to take what we're thinking, to take what we're feeling. I feel really tight in my chest. I wonder if I'm stressed about something, right? Or I can feel my thoughts racing today. I think it's because school's starting up and I've got all these things, right? Saying those things out loud helps our kids identify and give voice to the things they're feeling that they don't have words for.
For sure.
Mm.
That is good. I hope everyone is taking notes. So, for doing this for, I think my math is correctly 7 years, going on 8, and working with probably millions of parents, even by the book at this point, what strengths do you think we have as ADHD parents in 2025?
Well, if you are an ADHD parent, it means, and it's 2025. I mean, I don't know, I'm going to age myself, but if you grew up in the 90s or the 80s, like I did, and you're an older parent, then you grew up with no one understanding you. And you grew up with assumptions about why you do what you do. And you grew up taking those stories with you. And so you're unraveling those things. And so I think you as an ADHDer can have some empathy towards what your kids are going through and what they're working through. And you can see things from the other side. I think it's one of my biggest strengths is I am a super kid. I call them super kids in my book. And I am one. I'm an adult super kid. And my kid, my 12-year-old, my daughter, she says, Mom, you're just a 12-year-old boy. I'm like, I know. I cannot stop the things that come out of my mouth sometimes. Like, I am very impulsive and that's still there. And I think that that's a strength that we have. I think that if you're a younger parent and you have had ADHD your whole life because you were more aware of it and the world was more aware of it, even if you've just recently gotten diagnosed, I just think that you bring an education, a knowledge to parenting that so many parents didn't have. My mom didn't have for sure. And you get to use that knowledge to your advantage. But there is a curse of knowledge. And sometimes we can go too far on the education side instead of just pausing and going, okay, I don't need to fix this. I don't need to solve this. What's my next step? Like, how do I just get through this moment?
That is so good. So I'm clearly a Southern woman, and I think that one of the strengths that the people around me in my small community are having is that they're transitioning from ADHD as just boys being boys to how can I help? And I'm so proud. I don't know if it's just keeping the conversation going or if we are evolving or what, but I'm really proud.
I think it is. It's funny that you said you're a Southern woman. So I'm born and raised in Arkansas. I live in Arkansas currently, but I lived 21 years in Chicago. So I was just telling my son, he's now 18, and tell my son I just had a conversation. See, this is my ADHD brain. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, except for I can't help talk about it because Southern woman to Southern woman. I was having this conversation that was really frustrating over online messaging. And I told the person, I really feel like you misled me, blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, I never intended to mislead you. Bless your heart. Have a blessed day. And I was like, this woman just told me off. I know what that means. Okay, so there is a great example of I'm calm.
Yeah.
I'm connected. No, you're not. You don't say have a blessed day unless you are royally PO'd at me. Yeah. Right? So there's a really good example of what we say on the outside, what we do on the outside does not always reflect what's on the inside. And your ADHD kid, your neurodivergent kid knows it. Like they can see right through it. And so just don't, don't tell your kid to have a blessed day.
I think that for me, and I mean, statistically, many of us are parenting a kid with ADHD and anxiety. So I don't have the luxury of stuffing it all down and putting that veneer on because he can see through that. You know,
Hmm.
after our hyperactive impulsive act, he's immediately looking to me, is she mad? So
Hmm.
I can't veneer it. I have to be upfront and honest, and
Yeah.
truthful in that moment. And
Yeah.
we just gotta, whether I'm mad or not, we gotta deal with
Yeah.
it because he can
Yeah.
sense it. He really can.
100%. And my kid would do the same thing. And sometimes he would misinterpret the things that he was seeing. So when I don't feel well, my voice is groggy, he assumed I was mad. So he was reacting to mad. This is my oldest autistic kid who's now 20. So now he has scripts and he'll say, "You sound really angry this morning. Are you feeling okay?" Like that's what he asked
Yeah.
now. But back then he just, you know, like one time he says to me, I was perturbed and he goes, "Well, I think you're just having a really bad morning, so I'm going to walk away." And I was like, "No, no, I'm mad at you." Like, no, don't misinterpret this one.
No, no, thank you for your kind words. But this one is you. I think it's really hard for me too because I'm so sarcastic. And his 10-year-old neurodivergent brain does not get sarcasm. So the
Oh,
way that me and his dad speak to each other, he thinks we're being mean to each other when we're not. We're laughing and cutting
mhm.
up. But then when he gets mad, he says those things, but he's not being sarcastic. And he does not
Yeah.
get that at all right now.
No, no, I totally get that. That is so true.
So I guess on the opposite end of that, where is there still room for us to improve as neurodivergent parents?
I think as all parents, I think the thing that I'm seeing is this oscillating, which is confusing for kids. We don't want to be strict like maybe the parents we grew up with. We don't want to use this like what I say is law, and we want to be more child centric. We want to understand our kids and be more affirming. And so then we oscillate all the way to, okay, we'll let you, we'll give you, we'll help you, we'll whatever, and then you go back and forth. That is, I think, one of the biggest challenges, is not saying, okay, I'm your guide. I am here to lead you. I am here to guide you. And that means that I have to be flexible. A good leader is flexible. So I'm going to set boundaries because it's what keeps you safe. And I'm also going to take into account that maybe I set an expectation that didn't meet your your level yet, like what you were ready for, your capacity yet. And so we have to be willing to be flexible, but like an elastic band, but we don't want to be pulled so far, like an elastic band that's been pulled so much that it's not usable anymore, right? It doesn't have any elasticity to it. And so that would be my biggest, like, just caution for any parent is just really be that, like, I am steadfast. I am sturdy. I am a leader. I am your guide. I am here to help. I am here to support. And so I see that you need this. And also, we need to put our shoes on. Like that happens
Yeah.
sometimes. And so, but what I see a lot of times with my neurodivergent parents who never got their needs met is they want to meet their kids' needs so badly that they are giving up their own needs. And so, example of that would be especially around sleep. Is saying like, well, my kid needs me to go to sleep, and they're up till 3 a.m. Yeah, but if you're not sleeping, you can't help them the next day.
Yeah.
And so, really being like, okay, I know you need me to go to sleep, and I also need my sleep. Both of those things can be true. I think it's the power of the both and. Both of those things can be true. So, if it is important for for me to be with you, we need to do that before this time. Or you need to sleep in my room because I'm going to sleep at this time,
Yeah.
right? You still have a boundary. And then, you know, they can do with that information what they need to.
That is really good. And I think that's me. I have a hard time from wanting to be the progressive parent, wanting to be the understanding parent, to now we fought for 10 minutes. I'm pissed off and I still need you to read for this 30 minutes. So he's like,
Mm-hmm.
but you said I had a choice. You had a choice 10 minutes ago. Our choice is no longer. Like now I need you to do what I need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I could probably work on that myself. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe put better scaffolding in place to where
Yeah.
reading isn't so challenging.
And maybe finding out what is the struggle with the reading, because maybe there is really, maybe there's an expectation that he can read, and he needs an audiobook, or maybe he needs to be read to, or maybe, my daughter she is very like literate and can read and can understand. And, she's now going into seventh or eighth grade, I forget, and still prefers an audiobook. I didn't read a book until I was a junior in college, graduated with a 4.5. Never read a book. I just listened to the
Yeah.
conversations around it. And I thought something was wrong with me until I became an adult and I started devouring audiobooks. So it's about figuring out what works for our kids instead of saying, this is the time limit. This is the thing I need you to do. And so instead of the fight, it's like, okay, I can see this is really hard today. Reading is really important. We need to find a way to make reading work. How can we do that?
Selfishly, how would I use audiobooks for his reading time? Him listening to them or him following along or both?
Yeah, 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 both, either or. Yeah. I mean, our kids do so much reading nowadays. This is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. If your kid plays Roblox, they are reading nonstop.
Yeah.
They're reading nonstop. They have to read to be able to create the obbies or the obstacle courses. They have to read to talk with the other players. It's all chat based.
Yeah.
And so they are learning how to read. No, it's not a novel, right? I get it. That's very different. But our kids are going to be okay when it comes to reading. They're going to learn how to read. I'm not saying replace it all with electronics and games, but find things that are interesting for him to learn, interesting for him to watch. Turn the captions on while he watches a TV show. Like, what are ways that he can get reading in, and then tell you about it so that he's got the comprehension, so that he's, doing the thing.
Thank you for that free session. I will put all of that into play whenever we exit.
And it's important to find out why people don't read. I mean, I can tell you, even as an adult, if I open up a book, I get lost by the middle of the page. I have forgotten. My working memory is really, really poor. Learning that as I get older, and it's getting worse as I get older. But by the time I get to the middle of the page, I forgot what I read at the top of the page, and so then I have to reread it, and then I feel slow, and then I get frustrated, and then I don't want to keep reading.
Okay, mamas of sensory seeking, constantly moving, touch craving kiddos, listen up, because I've found the holy grail of calm. It's called Ted Kangaroo, and they make sensory products that are actually beautiful and built to last longer than my patients on a Monday morning. But the real MVP, the Sensory Squeeze Seat. It's this genius compression chair that literally feels like a hug for your kid's nervous system. My son says it's like a great hug that rocks. And honestly, he's not wrong. It gives just the right amount of deep pressure without making him feel trapped. And here's the thing, every single kid that comes to our house, they all want to turn every single time. It's washable because kids. It's sturdy, and it's become our go-to chill spot for meltdowns, homework, and those 5 minutes before bedtime chaos moments. So if you've got a sensory kiddo who needs comfort, grounding, or just a little peace in their body, go check out Ted Kangaroo. They're out here helping our kids feel safe, supported, and seen, one squishy hug chair at a time. So, side note for anyone listening who also has a challenge with reading, we actually did find out what my son's reading issue is. We went to OT for handwriting, and during the vision check for OT, she found out that he has a very rare eye jumping. So that's one reason why he doesn't want to. So I thought getting large print books would help, but he still hates it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then also we're talking about reading, but figure out what the goal is. Is the goal to have quiet time, or is the goal for him to practice his reading skills, or is the goal for him to strengthen his eye muscle? So it all depends. And the your solution to the problem is going to be very different depending on what the why is behind what you want. So if it really is to strengthen reading skills, maybe he plays a reading game. If it's to have quiet time, maybe we find something else like listening to a book. If it's to strengthen his eye coordination or his eye muscles, maybe we find a different exercise that does that.
Yeah. Again, thank you for that free session.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I'm learning now that trauma and ADHD overlap very much so. So I'm wondering how your own sensory or trauma or neurodivergent experiences influence how you structure your guidance for families like ours.
I mean, okay. So how my own trauma informs. So I have a lot of really hard things that happened to me at a very young age. And so, yes, that plays a huge part in how I show up in the world. To me, the way that I've built that framework where it is yourself and connection first, and with connection, it's that built safety. That is a trauma-informed practice right there. We're working on the nervous system first. We're working on what is our response to stress. We want to learn about how we respond, how we react, what our own stories are, what is being told to us in our head, what have we believed for all these years, and then how is that then coming across to our kids. So we want to look at those things before we do anything else. I think that's basically how it has informed me. And I think that's where I get so much empathy as well. And I think that with anything in life, it's using that as information to say, this explains, this helps me understand, but it is not an excuse. And I don't think a lot of people do that, but I think that there are enough people that sometimes misinterpret what that's like. Oh, I can't do that because I have this that happened, or I can't, well, I could never because,
Yeah.
And just thinking through what that is doing in how you interact with your kids. And then the last thing is the fear. I would say so many parents have a fear of creating trauma for their kids because so many of us now are trauma aware. Trauma is created by not having two people who can go through the thing together and then process that thing together. So your kid is already ages ahead in processing and healing because they have you, because you're there, you're modeling, you're talking through it. You're not excusing it. You're just helping them understand the world around them. You're helping them understand this hard thing they went through. You're not dismissing this hard thing they went through. Many of us who have stored trauma in our body had things happen to us and they were either completely ignored or dismissed. That's not what we're doing with our kids here. So you don't have to make decisions out of fear. You can make decisions with that understanding of, I'm here to support my kid and I can't protect my kid. My kid is going to have things happen to them. They're going to get hurt. They're going to have something traumatic. I mean, I don't know a human who has not had something traumatic happen in their life. And we're talking about little t, big T, right? We don't know, every child person is different. And again, it goes back to that core relationship we're building with our kids.
I think it's hard for me coming from big T trauma to parent him without fear on so many levels, not just that I'm messing him up, it's just hard to transition out of that headspace to say, even to myself, like, it's okay, he has me, we're going to be fine. It's really hard to transition out of that.
That's where I would do most of your thought work, personal work, is working through that fear.
Yeah.
And also, as a little extra side note, if you have big T trauma, working through the resentment, the anger, and the what did I say? The anger, the resentment, the frustration towards the aggressor or towards the person or the thing, the event that occurred, or even yourself, is going to be so powerful because you cannot parent without fear, without releasing that. You don't have room.
Yeah.
And right now you're probably using those things as a shield, right? It keeps you protected.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably more of that stuffing it down that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the Venn diagram. So break down for us the calm, the chaos roadmap. I think there is the ride the storm, diffuse, get ahead, create a team, and then thrive.
The really big, like, I mean, I could go into all of it. It's what the book is all about. It's broken down into the roadmap, but the key is a lot of parenting programs and frameworks out there are like, here's a framework, go use it. And they drop you on the path at level 3, level 4, ahead of the moment. And this is how it should work if everything was perfect, which is like your systems, routines, and your, your boundaries and rules and all those things. None of that's going to work unless you first can just get through this hellacious moment safe and still connected. And then you've taken care of those basic needs for yourself. So ride the storm is let's get through it with minimal damage. The time and energy,
Diffuse.
right, which is the next one, is all about restoring your own energy. It's all about making sure you have the energy, you have the support, the brain space to take care of the next storm. So it's like, think of it as restoration even. And then the in the moment is, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to respond? How am I going to act? How am I going to solve this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to, you're not solving and you're not fixing in that moment. This still is really about you. What are you doing in that moment? What are you saying in that moment? Ride the storm. You're not talking. Like, try to keep your mouth shut. And so if you start at in the moment, you've missed the 2 stages that are so vital. So vital is just, how do I ride this without adding more chaos? And how do I replenish what I need so that if it happens again, I can still ride it again? Because a lot of times we can ride the first one, we can ride the second one, but by the third one, we are like, oh, hell, like, what are we supposed to do? Right? Like, gloves are coming off and we are just like, look, right? That's why that second phase is so important. And then the third phase, that in the moment, that's that practice. Like, I'm going to pick one thing I'm going to say, one thing I'm going to do, and one thing I can provide my kid, instead of I've got this arsenal of tools and this, all these courses and all these summits and all this advice and all these TikTok videos. And I got to remember what to say in the moment. Like, no, this is your plan ahead of time for what you will do in the moment. Then ahead of the moment is, once that's solid, and it doesn't even have to be great. You don't have to be good at it. But now it's involving your kid. Now it's saying, hey, I noticed this problem. I wonder if we can come up with an in the moment plan for when this happens. So it's like an in the moment plan for your kid. Once that's working and you've tweaked it and you've adjusted it, then you're like, this is working. Let's turn this into a ritual, a habit, a routine, a rule, a boundary, a expectation, because we know this works. So it's just a progression of getting to that place where you have a rule, a boundary, a expectation that the family follows through with. And then you go back and you do it again. And every stage uses the framework we just talked about. So the you connect, understand, empower at Ride the Storm is so basic. It is a box cake. It is like, I'm pulling the box cake, the box mix off the shelf, and all it tells me to add is water and an egg. I can do that. Like, I can do that. That is easy. And someone's telling me exactly what to do. You got it. Right. It might even be, you know what it might even be? It might not even be that. It might be those little like microwavable, you know what I'm talking about? Those little microwavable cakes where you just add water and you put it in the microwave and it does everything else for you. You don't even have to like stir it or anything. Like, it's just poof, you have a cake. That might be your Ride the Storm, right? So basic that anyone can do it. Then we move on to, let's add a little bit more, because now you've got more capacity. The roadmap is all about capacity. As you grow in capacity, your plan can get more elaborate. But what I see parents, what I see coaches, what I see like all the big guys talking about is these elaborate plans that nobody can access. So that's where that's come from.
I think you took it like right out of my brain and said it, because I'm thinking like, How do I remember what to say, what I picked? And you were like, just pick one thing out of the millions unsolicited advice thrown your way.
100%.
Just one thing. And remember, I can
Yeah.
remember one thing. I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do that. And
Yeah.
it's picking like your hottest point of the day. So it's like getting your kid to read, right? You're not going to think about getting them to eat. You're not going to think, I mean, obviously you're going to think about those things, but you're not making a plan for any of those, right? First, you need to ride the storm plan for when he's not reading. Then you need a boost plan for what you're going to do before it's reading time so that you are calm, cool, collected. You can handle when he refuses. Then you need a plan for what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, and what I'm going to provide when he refuses to read. Now that that's working, hey, I noticed reading's been really hard. Let's make a plan together for when you don't feel like reading. Now that that's working, hey, we have a routine, an expectation, a new system for reading.
And we're not fighting 5 to 10
You're
minutes
not fighting.
per day.
You're not fighting. But you can't go from fighting 5 to 10 minutes for overreading now to having this beautiful like plan that works without going through those steps.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I think that that is so feasible for our overworked, overloaded brains.
100%. Yeah. And I think people misunderstand. They think that it's like, I got to remember 4 parts to 5 stages. And nope. No, you don't. Nope, you don't. You just keep it simple, keep it basic. Now the book and the course and all that, we go like way far into different strategies to use for each of those, but you don't have to know all of that. You start at Ride the Storm and you stay there for a bit if you need to.
Is the courses and programs, is it kind of like pick what works for you and do that? Or is it kind of linear?
It's linear in the fact that it's set up, the book is set up the same way. It's here's stage 1, which is Ride the Storm. Here's what the U piece is. The U piece would be what I call Stop, Breathe, Anchor. So it's a strategy for the U piece. And then it does a connection, an understand, and an empowerment piece for each of those pieces. Then let's go to the next one, the next chapter, the next module. And the U piece progresses to now doing boosts and drains. And the connect piece progresses to something a little harder. And then the understand piece. And it gets a little more challenging as you go. So then when you get to stage 3, which is in the moment, the U piece is called a thought swap. What am I thinking? And what do I need to swap that to? We call them thought monsters and super swaps. And so it's getting a little harder. You can't do that when you're just riding the storm.
Yeah.
And then when we get to ahead of the moment, the U piece is going to be struggles to superpower swaps, which is seeing what your kid struggles with as their actual superpower. That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of capacity. That takes a lot of understanding. And you have to be in a really good place. When you're pissed off, you can't see their struggles as superpowers.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see how it's like progressing and getting a little more difficult as we go?
Yeah. You would definitely have to build the capacity to see your biggest struggle as a superpower. But I like how you have that structured to where when you get there, you will have that capacity.
It's there for you when you're ready. Yeah.
Dayna, I would selfishly, as I said, take up all of your time. It has been very challenging for me to be in here for 40 minutes and not fangirl all over you, but I have kept it together. I'm proud of that. I like to end with one question, and it's always very selfishly what I needed to hear in the moment. So if there's someone out there swirling the drain, stressed out, what parting advice would you like to leave those parents?
It's the same thing I tell everyone is just, 1, you are not alone. It feels like it feels isolating. It feels like you're the only one going through this. And it's just because you can't see all the other people out there who are going through the same thing. I always say it's like being in a really dark cave. And because you're in that cave, you can't see that you're surrounded by people until you light a match. And so just know that you are not alone. There are lots of people going through what you're going through. And my final is you're not failing. You're doing the absolute best you can with what you've been given. Your kid is not broken, and you are exactly the parent that they need you to be.
Again, selfishly, always what I needed to hear. Thank you so much for the reading reframe and all of the advice that you've given me today. Will you like to tell our audience how they can connect with you?
Yeah, the best place to go is just calmthechaos.co because you can find out information about the programs we offer. You can find out information about the book, about the podcast, all the different things. So best place to go is there.
Thank you so much again for your time today.
Thank you.
Phew! If your soul just exhaled, yeah, that's what talking to Dayna does. She makes the messy part of raising neurodivergent kiddos feel less like personal failure and more like, okay, I can actually do this. I hope this episode gave you permission to drop the impossible standards and lean into what your kid actually needs, not what the world thinks they should be. If Dayna lit something up in you today, go dive into her work, grab her tools, follow her content, get closer to her corner of the internet. Parents like us need guides who actually get it. And hey, if this conversation made you feel even 1% more human, share it with another ADHD parent who's hanging on by a thread. We lift each other up around here. That's it for this week on Chaos and Caffeine. I'm your host, Danielle. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the hard stuff with heart. I'll see you guys back next week with the same chaos and probably even more caffeine, but I promise to bring a new conversation. So come as you are, coffee stains and all. Okay, ADHD parents, if you've ever said, I just need one thing that actually helps us stay on track, I've got you covered. Meet Pop Sugar Cafe Printables, the creative powerhouse turning chaos into calm, one gorgeous, brain-friendly printable at a time. Pop Sugar Cafe isn't just about cute designs, though they are stunning. It's about giving neurodivergent families tools that work. Visual schedules, emotion charts, routine planners, and positive reinforcement systems that make everyday life feel doable. These printables aren't built for Pinterest perfection. They're built for the real life mornings with missing shoes, cold coffee, and a kid who suddenly hates pants. So if you're ready to swap the daily overwhelm for something that actually supports your family's rhythm, check out Pop Sugar Cafe Printables because structure can be beautiful, functional, and ADHD friendly all at once.